77 degrees in Kansas, 70 degrees in Iowa, and it's February 9th. A massive ice crack just split Lake Erie wide open with 95% ice coverage. And right around Valentine's Day, a major storm is lining up that could slam millions of Americans with heavy snow and severe weather. So yeah, the weather across the United States right now is absolutely wild. We're looking at one of the most dramatic pattern flips I've seen this entire winter, and I gotta walk you through all of it. After days of brutal cold hammering the East Coast, something big just shifted. A powerful ridge is building across the central US, and it's pushing historically warm air way further north than it has any business going in the middle of winter. But here's the thing, that warm air isn't just gonna sit there quietly. As it pushes east, a sharp temperature boundary is gonna set up right through the middle of the country, and that boundary is where things get real interesting. Multiple storms are expected to develop along that line, and we're talking potential for heavy snow on one side and severe weather on the other. Think of it like a weather war zone, warm air versus cold air, and we're all caught in the middle. But before we get into all of that, let's start with something kinda nuts that happened yesterday on Lake Erie. A massive ice crack opened up across central Lake Erie, just north of Cleveland, Ohio. Right now, the ice coverage on Lake Erie is sitting at about 95%, which is insanely high for this time of year. And with the wild temperature swings and the wind we've been dealing with, these kind of cracks are gonna keep happening. So if you're anywhere near that ice, heads up, be super careful out there, because this is only gonna get more common as the pattern shifts. All right, now let's talk about the elephant in the room, this insane heat wave in the middle of freaking February. A huge ridge has parked itself over the Great Plains, and it's pumping warm air northward like it thinks it's already spring. Today, we're looking at record-breaking temperatures as far north as Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska. We're talking highs in the 70s in February. Y'all, Kansas City is hitting 67 degrees today, and southwestern Kansas could see 77. I mean, let that sink in, 77 degrees in Kansas in February. Des Moines, Iowa is looking at temperatures that would make you think you skipped ahead to late March. And over in Tennessee, where we literally had an ice storm a couple weeks ago, it's gonna be pushing 65 today. Honestly, the groundhog doesn't even matter at this point. Spring showed up on its own. Some spots are running a full 40 degrees above average, and that's not a typo 40 degrees above normal. Now, if you're on the East Coast thinking, wait, it's still freezing here, you're right. A lot of you are still sitting below average, and I hear you, but that's about to change big time. So let me break this down day by day so you know exactly what's coming. By Tuesday, that heat wave across the northern plains starts to back off a little as a weak cold front pushes through Kansas, Oklahoma, and up into Wisconsin. But on the flip side, Tuesday brings well above average temps to the entire Northeast, the Ohio Valley, and back into Texas. If you're in New York City, Philly, or Boston, enjoy that brief warm-up because it's not gonna last. By Wednesday, a storm system sliding down from Canada will push into New England and drag below average temps back into the mid-Atlantic. That cold front stretches all the way down into Texas. But honestly, this system is pretty weak overall. The biggest thing you'll notice this week isn't storms, it's the temperature roller coaster. Wednesday and Thursday, the heat gets pushed down toward the Gulf Coast. Think Houston, New Orleans, Mobile. But then Thursday into Friday, that warm air surges right back up across the central and southern plains like a boomerang. Dallas and Houston could easily crack 80 degrees by Friday, which is straight up April weather in the middle of February. And with that kind of heat and moisture in place, we could be looking at a severe weather setup across the southern plains by next weekend. For my folks in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, Chicago, Indianapolis, Columbus, you're going to be riding this temperature seesaw all week. Below average, above average. Below average again, it's going to feel like the weather can't make up its mind. That back and forth could actually squeeze out some isolated snow chances during the middle and end of the week. And for the Northeast Boston, Hartford, Burlington, it stays cold heading into Saturday and Sunday. Now here's what's got my attention more than anything else right now. After February 15th, the polar vortex is getting ready to make a comeback. And when it does, things are going to change fast. It's been sitting up there, quietly building strength. And it's only a matter of time before it unleashes another major Arctic blast. So enjoy the warmth while it lasts, because the cold is coming back, and it might come back with a vengeance. All right, let's zoom out and look at the storm systems rolling through over the next 7 days. First up, today into tomorrow, we've got light to moderate snowfall hitting the Pacific Northwest, mainly in the higher elevations. If you're a skier in the Cascades, or anywhere up in Washington and Oregon, you're eating good this week. Meanwhile, a big Alberta clipper is developing right now north of Minnesota, and this thing is going to bring some solid snowfall. Upper Peninsula of Michigan, you're up first. Heavier snow hits tomorrow and rolls into Tuesday. Then it pushes into the northeast with moderate to heavy snowfall expected especially on Tuesday and early Wednesday. If you're in New England or near New York City, you're getting some wintry precipitation count on it. Over in New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and southern New York, we might see a little mix with some freezing rain in there. Good news though, any ice accumulation shouldn't be enough to knock out power, but watch for slick spots on the roads. By Wednesday morning, that clipper shifts offshore, leaving behind some lingering snow in the Appalachians and northern New England. And for those of you already buried in snow up in New England, you've already got about a foot on the ground. Well, buckle up, because another 3 to 6 inches is on the way on top of that. Upstate New York and the Buffalo area could pick up a couple inches too. So the snow lovers are definitely winning right now. Now, quick question for you guys. Drop it in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what's the weather like outside your window right now? I always love hearing from all of you across different parts of the country, so let me know down below. All right, moving into the back half of the week, late Wednesday and Thursday, a big area of moisture builds over the Rockies and West Coast. We're talking heavier snowfall hitting the higher elevations again. And honestly, this is some of the best ski snow we've seen all winter. Denver, Salt Lake City, and the mountain towns y'all are about to get dumped on in the best way possible. On Thursday, that temperature boundary we talked about earlier finally sets up across the Central Plains and into the southeast. This is the battle line. Warm air on one side, cold air on the other, and storms are going to try to fire up right along it. A weaker low-pressure system develops Thursday into Friday across Kansas and Oklahoma. And while it's not a monster storm, it's not nothing either. We could see snow showers in parts of the Midwest and thunderstorms firing up across the Deep South on Friday. And that means isolated severe weather is back on the table possibly Friday into Saturday. By Saturday and Sunday, things start to get more organized as moisture streams in from both the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico. We're looking at a solid line of showers and thunderstorms with severe weather possible, especially Saturday, given all the heat and humidity in place. Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, you guys need to keep an eye on this because that warm side of the storm could get pretty active. And out west, the Pacific Northwest is getting hit with an atmospheric river event that could dump serious snow in the mountains. By Saturday and early Sunday, the storm system pushes through the southeast and along the east coast. It's still a big question mark whether this brings significant snow to the mid-Atlantic or if it stays mostly rain. For now, it looks like severe weather, storms, and rain are the bigger concern for the southeast and mid-Atlantic heading into next weekend. Maybe some snow sneaks into the northeast, but I wouldn't bet on anything major just yet. Now, here's the part I've been wanting to get to what happens after February 15th, because that's when this whole pattern could flip again. And frankly, that's when I think the real action starts. The GFS model is already hinting at a massive winter storm around that time frame, but models are going to shift a lot between now and then. What I'm more confident about is that Arctic air is going to make its move south again after the 15th. And when that cold air collides with all the moisture we've been building up, that's when we could see a much bigger, more organized storm. So if you've been waiting for a real winter storm, especially in the Central Plains and the Southeast, hang tight. The back half of February could deliver in a big way, and I'll have updates on that as the data comes in. Now, real talk if you're looking for big snowfall over the next 7 to 10 days. The odds aren't great for most of the country. The heat wave is basically putting a lid on winter storms across the Central Plains and the Southeast through about February 18th. But if you're in New England, the Rockies, or along the West Coast, you're in the sweet spot for solid snowfall this week. All right, so let me give you a quick city-by-city rundown so you know exactly what to expect where you live. New York City, mild start to the week. Wintry mix Tuesday. then cooling off with temps settling in the 30s by the weekend. Chicago, that temperature yo-yo I mentioned, swinging between the 30s and 50s. Possible snow showers midweek. Dallas warming up fast, potentially hitting 80 by Friday, with storm chances next weekend. Denver cooler with mountain snow. Great conditions if you're heading up to the slopes this week. Los Angeles below average and cooler than normal, which is honestly a nice break from the fire weather concerns. Seattle and Portland, atmospheric river incoming. Rain in the lowlands and heavy snow up in the Cascades. And Miami, you guys are just vibing as usual. Warm and mostly quiet this week. If I didn't mention your city, drop it in the comments and I'll try to cover it in the next forecast. Seriously, I read those comments and they helped me figure out what areas to focus on. So keep them coming. So to wrap this all up, here's the bottom line on what you need to know heading deeper into February. This week is all about that crazy temperature battle record warmth in the plains, fighting against lingering cold in the east. Storm chances stay relatively quiet for most of the country, but the northeast and west coast will see active weather. The real story kicks in after February 15th, when the polar vortex makes its next move and the pattern flips again. That Valentine's Day timeframe is the one I'm watching closest. A potential storm that could bring severe weather and heavy snow to a big chunk of the country. I'll be all over it as the models update. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the breakdown when that Valentine's Day storm starts to take shape. And one more thing. What part of this forecast are you most concerned about the heat wave, the snow, or the severe weather? Let me know in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what's on your mind. All right, that's all for today's forecast. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.